focus actually on collaboration as a whole. And a lot of the trends in technology today are really leading toward the facilitation of collaboration between multiple groups in both private and public sectors. And we're going to talk about how the technology that we represent facilitates that collaboration. And we're also going to talk a little bit about how these projects are typically built and where you can find funding for these types of projects as well. I'll show you a couple of videos just to give you some ideas about how different folks are using the technology. And anytime that I reference an organization, that means that these are people who are willing to talk to you and to your organization about how they deployed solutions to make their organizations much more effective and efficient. Okay, so first let me explain who Total Marketing is. We are a specialty collaboration distributor for Cisco, as well as about 17 other manufacturers. And Industrial AV is a value-added reseller of those technologies. And so what they do is they take the collaborative products that we represent and they integrate them into your different environments, depending on the requirements and the applications that you'll be utilizing the technology for. And so that's where we kind of fit in. I am both a reseller and an end-user-facing resource. It's my job to help you determine what programs and services there are out there that you need access to and how technology can facilitate the delivery and receipt of those programs and services. And then typically I assist customers with building technology plans and building budgets and funding opportunities around those plans to make those projects come to fruition. All right, so let's jump into what we're seeing out there in the industry today. First, I want to mention that there definitely is a big paradigm shift in the IT industry as a whole. We're now seeing a whole lot of convergence. So everybody familiar with that word, convergence? Everybody is using technology in a very uniform way now. So all of the different solutions that are out there, whether it's computing or telepresence or collaboration technologies like web and data systems, everything is available on a grand scale. So when we talk about some of the trends we're seeing, how many of you have heard about the cloud and cloud computing? Okay, well essentially what moving all of the information into the cloud is doing for all of us is it's allowing us to have greater access to content that's out there and that's available, as well as resources in the way of hard resources and human resources from any location where we may be. So we're not tied now to a desk in an office with a hardwired internet line, because using multiple forms of connectivity, we're able to get that information and access human resources from anywhere in the world. Interfaces that we're using technology for have become much more revolutionized. So we've all seen the touch interfaces that you have from Apple, and we've got keyboards still around, but we're also starting to see voice-controlled semantic context devices as well. And I think for those of you who are going to go to InfoComm, you're going to see quite a bit of advancement in the way that interfaces are being revolutionized. The information flow that's out there is becoming quite heavy, and so you're going to start seeing a lot more ways that you can search for content that's relevant to you. And using a lot of the social networking tools that are out there, you'll be able to build more congruent platforms for your specific needs within your environments and search for relevant content based on voice commands that are very contextual in nature. As far as the uniform way that information is flowing, we refer to that as social homogenization. So an example of that would be the way that, for example, when we saw everything happen recently overseas with the revolts in Egypt, and you saw folks on Twitter and on Facebook who were posting videos and sending out information and bringing groups together to talk about how they were going to get together. All of that is global now. It's on a very wide scale. And so it doesn't matter where you are in the world. When you've got the connectivity that's ubiquitous to everybody, you can get a message out, send a message out, gather information, and bring folks together to collaborate in any environment. What this all means to us is that there is definitely a shift happening in the workforce, in education, in communities overall, where people are really starting to come together instead of staying apart and in their own vertical silos. So folks out there in different communities all over the world have a need to do more with less. They have to find a way that they can be just as efficient and productive with a less amount of resources. They have a need to be very agile and efficient, constantly be out on the go, and that can't hinder or stop anyone from their productivity. Everyone still has to be able to invest in growth, regardless of the economy and the recession and a financial situation. But that growth has to be sustained over the long term. And so the funding that you receive has to be sustainable and keep things going for a long period of time. And so there's no stopgap approaches to anything anymore. You really have to very thoroughly plan out how you're going to utilize technology resources, how those can sustain your business over long periods of time, and what access that's going to be giving you to those resources. And of course, the need to manage spending. And so what I'm seeing out there in the industry is phased out deployments of different types of solutions. So you start out with a proof of concept, and when that works, you build on that. And when that works, you go to a phase 2 and phase 3 deployment until you've completed your project. And this could span over several years, or it could happen in a couple of years, depending on how thoroughly you plan out how you're going to accomplish the needs and requirements for your organizations. But we understand as vendors that we have to assist you with that planning to really thoroughly develop your business. And so when you take a look at all of the different solutions that you're going to see downstairs today, when you group them all together to form a solution instead of looking at every individual product, then what you're going to see is that technology allows you to access the collective. It really moves everybody from beyond vertical silos and allows you to commune together. Allows you seamless access to the dynamics within any organization, and they're very cooperative. It's not about competition. If everybody bands together, then you'll start seeing that uniformly there are resources that can be shared. And when you break down the walls of an organization and you utilize technology to equalize your access to those resources, then you're going to see a lot of the dynamics in your organization as far as productivity and efficiency levels increase. And it's all through communication and collaboration. So some of the solutions that you're going to see as they're evolving today include telepresence solutions, what we used to call video conferencing. We now have a new term for that. Digital media suite, and what we mean when we talk about that is think about how you could record my presentation today, and I could put it into a server that then allows my content to be delivered to an iPhone, a BlackBerry, a computer, sit on a server to be accessed on demand. It'll automatically translate it into multiple languages and multiple formats where it can be received and viewed at any time. So those devices are out there and available, and that's called digital media. AV design and integration, how we build everything into your own environment and customize that for you, as well as unified communications, which is all of the network connectivity and infrastructure and the value-added services that vendors provide wrapped around those, whether those are outsourced managed services or basic maintenance and implementation services. So who are the innovators who are buying technology solutions today? Well, it's interesting. I, in my 13 years in this industry, have always looked at where the money goes and who gets the money. And oddly enough, the people who tend to be innovators and forward thinkers with the use of technology seem to be the ones who are developing programs and services that allow them to receive funding to deploy these solutions in a very innovative and unique way. And so what I'm going to do for you right now before we move any further is I'm going to play a couple of videos for you, if I can get out of here, and show you how a couple of our customers are utilizing technology.
We as educators know that there is an emotional tie between a teacher and a student. And when you go into a classroom, 90% of what you teach is who you are, and the other 10% will be your subject matter. So through distance learning, you still have that one-on-one with a human being.
We feel like that need for interactivity is extremely important, and visual communication is the best environment for students to be able to learn. The kids are so much more comfortable in an interactive environment.
It's a very intimate setting.
They get that feedback, they get the conversation, they form friendships.
Those teachers that are proficient at it can make seamless transitions from class to class.
With our Tandberg equipment, we're teaching to a small school in Moran. I've got a student, Thomas.
I'm taking physics through the distance learning course. It's one of the requirements to get the advanced diploma that's offered at this school.
Our interactions are in real time.
I actually get to speak with him and ask him questions.
He interacts with my students interact with him.
Our students here can get college content from higher ed universities without having to leave their high school classroom.
Because I already had 21 hours, the distance learning opportunity let me go through a 4 to 5 year college program in 3 years.
We have students here that have never left Texas, and this is a way for them to be able to go places, go to other locations.
We've connected to Europe, we've connected to the Smithsonian Institute.
Our freshman class was able to connect to a school in Brazil.
The Brazil thing was cool because we're exposed to people that we never got to interact with before.
It's a once-in-a-lifetime experience. I don't think I'm going to be able to go down to Brazil anytime that I want.
It's really exciting to us that we can provide these experiences to these kiddos by connecting them to the outside.
Okay. So, you heard a reference to virtual field trips and a lot of collaboration between higher education institutions and the high school. Distance learning is very proficient in the state of Texas, especially in K through 12, but it's now branching out more towards a lot of higher ed. And there's a lot of funding available for 2-year community colleges, vocational schools, and technical schools who interact greater with higher education universities as well as with K through 12 schools. So the funding that's currently out there and that's available is facilitating collaboration for education on a wider scale from multiple different types of organizations across communities. And that's because communities want to change the way that they are educating so that they make sure that they attract families and students to their elementary schools. Those students then go to high school and graduate. They then go on to college. They have high graduation rates. They have high college acceptance rates. And then they are employed in the communities where they actually were attracted to live in the first place. And so it's all about the facilitation of education throughout that entire community and building up that community from the inside out. This is a great resource for you educators that are here. And for you guys from the Space Institute, there are a number of virtual field trips that I don't know if you guys participate in. Lots of field trips from NASA and Lockheed Martin and the aeronautical space programs. And a lot of these are free, but a lot of these are for a minimal charge of, say, $75 for a virtual field trip. But they include content and curriculum before the trips happen, and then via telepresence technology and web technology, the students visit these institutions and then they follow up and collaborate with students from other schools and maintain their levels of studies by visiting these different organizations. One of the other things that you can do here, and this is, by the way, called the Center for Interactive Learning and Collaboration, and this is just one of the online curriculum and content resources that's available out there, is you can see who out there wants to actually collaborate through technology. And you would click on collaboration here and go down and do a search. If I just want to search on all current collaborations, then I'm going to see here, oh well, let's just type in space. I'm going to see that there are one class here. Okay, maybe that wasn't a good one. Let's type in science. There you go. Okay, there are 62 teachers out there who are looking for collaborations in science. And if you click on some of these, you're going to see that Joel Spencer, who is at Don Roberts Elementary in Little Rock, Arkansas, is looking for a 3rd, 4th, or 5th grade class to participate in monthly discussions on any aspects of science. And he's looking for targeted grades. There is his email, there's his phone number, and you can reach out to him. And this is at no cost or charge. And there's higher education institutions here looking for collaboration. There's K through 12 organizations. There are the private sector and public sector organizations providing field trips and other content and curriculum, graduate courses, etc., all over this entire website. So this is just one of the services out there. When people talk to me about if I invested technology, what would I have access to? A lot. You would have access to a lot of content and curriculum that's available. But it's not just education who is utilizing these systems. We have a lot of first responders as well as courtrooms. And this is another area that is receiving a great deal of funding to build connectivity and infrastructure for communication for first responder agencies. That includes law enforcement, that includes military organizations, that includes the court systems and corrections facilities, all aspects of state and local government.